The Israeli, so of course it's this Daily Mail, so take it for what it's worth. And I will preface this by they made me turn off my ad blocker. I am in incognito mode. These are not my ads. So before anybody says these are movers ads, they're not.
Kids, block your eyes.
Yeah, I've tried to fix this, but well, I'm not even looking at the right article. That's your article, Doug. Jeez, here we are. Okay. So the title was Like Top Gun Meets Star Wars. Israeli reservist pilot describes endless explosions in the skies. He shot down Iranian missiles alongside UK and US fighter jets, being back in his office sending emails by 4 p.m. Isn't that the most Air Force thing? Like, it's universal at this point that you're going to be doing emails and all kind of stuff.
Queep.
But it says an Israeli reservist pilot described the endless explosions. He was identified only as Major G. He said it was taking the projectiles out of the sky was like Top Gun meets Star Wars in an interview on Tuesday. Iran launched more than 300 missiles and drones at Israel on Saturday in response to the Israeli strike on the embassy compound in Syria on April 1st that killed 12 people, including 2 generals. As the bombs, well, not bombs, but, whatever, hurtled towards Israel, the country's Air Force scrambled. They had help from the UK, which we talked about. The Eurofighter was involved, which is awesome. US, France, Jordan, and British and American fighter jets down 99%. So speaking to the Telegraph, which probably a bad idea, but I love the article, so I'm going to allow it. Look at that, dude.
Yeah.
That does look Star Wars-ish. We talked about the exo-atmospheric intercept and how it did, but it doesn't say what he flies. But I have a feeling that this jet right here had a big part in that, because that's the Eagle jets. That's just what the Eagle jet does. Clears the air picture so that the players can actually play. So this is where they struck. You can see that Jordan allowed them in their airspace. Syria didn't have much of a choice. Is there any more text, or we just? Oh, here we go. Endless explosions, interceptions going on around you. Now, Gonky, I want to stop. Let's go. I can't have all these ads on for too much longer. Amazing coalition, 20 years in the Air Force. Typhoons were involved. He has 3,000 hours under his belt. So he's basically an old school reservist, which I love. And here he is shaking hands with somebody, or somebody shaking hands with him. Look at these. Oh,
Python.
What do you, yeah. Ooh. Ooh.
Real nice.
Very nice. I like. He could see the missiles being blown up while flying at low altitude. There was no risk of his own plane. There's no second chance. And he said he was shooting down somewhere in the Middle East. Next day, he's back to his normal life. He's taken many missions, but none as dangerous than that. So, dude, they're not like activated. They're like, go do the mission, go back to their civilian job, go do their mission, go back. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
But that's what the drone looks like. That is an Israeli woman. And Gal Gadot or Gadot is an Israeli woman as well, just in case you're wondering. And then everybody says it's right to have shown solidarity. Look at that right there. That looks like aliens attacking.
Yeah.
The commander of the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force warned at the same event that its warplanes, including Russian-made Sukhoi 24s, were in the best state of preparedness to counter an Israeli attack. Okay. And then there's the Eagle jet landing. Navy is carrying out some of the missions. So, Gonky, we talked about this in depth last week, but what I think is interesting is this is the first time I've seen one of the first-person reports, and it's a reservist. So I think a lot of people, I don't know, Israel, they're probably a little different, but like in America, your reservists are your experienced fighter pilots. And this guy, 3,000 hours, is one too. So when you have a conflict going on, these are the people that they may not always be like the most current version of the -1 tactics, the 3-1, but they have so much experience that it doesn't matter. They will make stuff happen. Like especially when everything falls apart. Anytime I've seen in my career, like F-16 or F-18, anytime things got non-standard, it was always the experienced, 2,000-3,000 hour fighter pilots that were just like, okay, I've seen this before. We're going to make this happen. Well, the book says this. No. We're going to do it this way. And it's just going to work. Like all the the Top Gun and the weapon school stuff kind of goes out the window, and now we're just doing a pickup game. And it sounds like, I mean, dude, this is correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is pretty unprecedented to have this many target, that air saturation, and have this many partners in this many places. So you're talking multiple countries working together, multiple airspaces, and 300 targets that were flying towards you. And he's right. If you don't, even though it was telegraphed, if you don't, somebody is going to die in your country. You know it. So every single one of those is important to strike. So everybody's doing their best. High risk of fratricide, high risk of a midair collision, the get well altitudes. I mean, just think of an average exercise that we do and all the get well altitudes, the block altitudes, like, hey, I'm going to stay here. Cause that's, in case for people who don't know, when we do large force exercises in training and even in real life too, but we'll set one of the first jobs of the mission commander, which, God, who's the mission commander for this? How many mission commanders did they have? One of the first jobs of the mission commander is to set all the deconfliction. Like, if nothing else happens, deconfliction is the most important part because you don't want airplanes running into each other. So as the mission commander, right, Gonky? I mean, that's like you're setting them. Remember in the T-38, hey, what's the blocks? Like, if you got nothing else right, what altitudes would everybody else be? So it's a massive undertaking that they did in a reasonably short amount of time. And I think, I'm just imagining myself in this position where you're seeing live explosions in the air and, you're like, okay, I hope that one, cause you have to watch, have to get that battle damage assessment. So you're trying to make sure that drone died. Okay. Next, target me to the next one, target me to the next one. Comm is probably at a premium and, just radar time.
Yeah. The other thing is, since they didn't just use fighters, right? They used surface to air. I mean, not only deconfliction, not hitting one another, but shooting each other down, right? A blue on blue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
sure.
there's in that airspace with that many, hostile targets coming at you. And like you're talking about with the stakes being high, like, we have to stop these. I think it really opens up the opportunity for a blue on blue, right? Because if you have to any of these projectiles making it is unacceptable, right? So that's going to lead to a very free type ROE when it comes to weapons employment, and that's where it can get a little dangerous, man. It's and like you talked about, it's always handy having reservists who have lots of experience to draw from, who can, like you said, I like the analogy of a pickup game, because you can't, anytime anything's written, an RE, a tactic, it's like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face. You could write the best plan, but in actual combat, just things happen and you need to be able to flex.
Well, they're also often, their presence is the calm in the storm, because you're hearing them on the radio. They're just sounding cool, looking cool. And just that level of experience, because I mean, imagine 100-hour, 200-hour wingman, dude, you are overwhelmed. There is a lot going on. I mean, my first non-graded ride was in combat, and I was like, it was a lot. There is a lot it's a lot different when things are real than training. But the other piece too, we've talked about this, like with the balloon stuff, dude, weapons are not 100%.
Oh no.
So you had to be perfect. And they, for the most part, 99%. I mean, they pretty much were, with some exceptions. But imagine, the flail, with a missile fail, a system fail, a radar fail, and then the risk of, I mean, they're small targets, right? How many times have you seen a missile, do something stupid? Somebody inadvertently. Right. I mean, I've been in exercises in the T-38 with Raptors just blitzing through right in front of me, had no idea I was there. I'm red, they're blue, and he just, screaming down. And it's like, if that kind of stuff happens in training, well, let's move back this situation, and a Raptor or somebody who doesn't know somebody else is there and they're screaming Fox 2, just as the missiles going towards the drone that nobody, or the one random drone. Oh, I picked him up visually. I'm going after him. There is a high risk in what they did. And it's amazing that they did it with multiple countries, because we train together, but we don't train together, right? It's not a daily thing. Like, we're not out there with our British partners and our Canadian partner. We're not out there every day. Even with people we're out there every day, we make mistakes. And the fact that all these countries came together and did such a good job, I mean, it's eye-watering. It's really great.
Yeah, the coordination is pretty spectacular. I mean, it would have been cool to be part of that, just to see,
dude,
like how this all gels together.
Well, and AWACS did a phenomenal job. Whoever was, GCI, the control had to have been they had to be the experienced people, and they did a great job. They had to have done a great job. There's no way they didn't do a great job. But also, just think about the other external factors, comm jamming, all the different trons that are out there and all that stuff. There's so much noise, so much talking, radios. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you're like, hey, it's not clarity like you and I talking to each other. It's 2 different radios, 3 different radios. You're monitoring. They are busy. That night was probably some of the busiest flying they've ever done.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we do LFEs, large force exercises, but I'd be willing to bet probably never that large. And that was a real, real life mission.
No,
so,
dude. I mean, kudos to those pilots from every level, because you had the EW, the electronic warfare aircraft out there. Like, every single player out there did their job. That was pretty good.
And I don't know, for the listeners, Mover and I look at it from an operator perspective, and that's having been in exercises like that, having been in
combat. I mean, combat things get. I mean,
yeah, exactly. It's just from an operator's perspective, it was pretty incredible. The deconfliction, the ROE, the fact that, at least as far as we know, no blue on blues happened.
Well, I'll go beyond that. Not even from an operator's perspective. The fact that no civilians died is good. That little 100%. Girl got hurt by shrapnel. That's bad. Yeah. But the fact that not a single, whether intentional or not, on the Iranian side, that's argued. People have argued both sides of that. But the fact that no one died is it being telegraphed, even all that stuff. The fact that nobody died is amazing.
Yeah. Now, if we could just hold hands and be friends again.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.